Hello everyone, and welcome to the Crestron Technical Institute. In this video, we will be talking all about the DM NVX tool. Joining me here today is Chris Tatton.
Hi Kyle, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely, Chris. So I've had a chance to play with this tool just a little bit though, but for those of us that don't know what it is, can you give me a brief overview?
Sure. So the DM NVX tool is a tool designed to make it easier to configure and troubleshoot new and existing NVX deployments, as well as manage settings for endpoints as a group. It's not a management appliance. It doesn't interface with a control system or provide routing for the end user. It's meant as a commissioning tool.
Okay, does it work like Toolbox's device discovery, or do I have to know the addresses of my NVX?
It does have a discovery mechanism built in. So if you click the Discover Devices button, it'll discover all of the NVX endpoints that exist on your local subnet. We also have the ability to manually discover devices that may exist on a different subnet as well.
All right, so I've done some pretty big NVX deployments and had huge Excel documents to keep track of all the IP information. Is the tool going to help me with that?
Sure. So in the manual discovery section, we have the ability to import lists of IP addresses and use those for our manual discovery. So if you have a bunch of different job sites that maybe use different IP addressing schemes, you can keep a record of those. And when you go to that job site, just import that list and it will use that for device discovery.
All right, now that we've discovered some NVXs, what does the refresh button do?
So the discovery information that comes back to us provides very basic information, firmware version, model name, IP address, but we haven't pulled any of the detailed data from the endpoint yet. So the refresh devices button allows us to make our connection to the endpoint and pull that information. We have a username and password that we'll utilize to connect to the endpoints. And then we also have the ability to set what type of certificate we're going to accept from the endpoint for security. So we have three options there. We can either select only valid CA certificates, something that we can validate all the way up to our trusted root. We could accept valid CA certificates or self-signed certificates, which is how the NVX endpoint comes out of the box. Or as a path of last resort, we can accept any certificate.
Okay, so if I make a change, does it update immediately, or then do I need to refresh?
So once we've refreshed, we maintain a connection to the device. So if there is any change, such as hot plug changing, that information is transmitted to us and we display it in the UI in real time.
Okay, so once I've connected, do I ever need to refresh?
There are a few times that you may need to refresh. And the only time when that would be is when we lose our connection to the device. Which may be because we rebooted it for any number of reasons, such as firmware, changing IGMP settings, or if we load a web server certificate that allows us to, requires a reboot.
Okay, so I've been in large environments where you hit Discover and you'd see a ton of these. Can I narrow this down?
Sure. So we have a right-click context menu that allows us to select an individual device to refresh.
All right. I can see this tool really helping me with deployments. What else can it do for me?
So there are a lot of settings that are presented there that you can modify. You can start stop streams. You can set multicast addresses and detect conflicts. So if you have two transmitters that are using the same multicast address, the tool will alert you to that to change that. And you can also change your HDCP and EDID settings for each input on the endpoint.
Okay, this is a lot of features, but I didn't hear anything about USB.
So in the main view, we have some read-only fields for the USB that gives you some basic information, but we also have an edit button that delves into another window that gives you that deeper level of information and allows you to make changes to those settings.
Yeah, I see a lot of information here. Can I customize this view at all?
Sure. We know that not every installation uses the same functionality or the same features. Some installations may not use USB or secondary audio. So the view option allows us to hide and show groups of columns to condense the user interface a little bit to only show the sections that you need.
Okay. So before I came to Crestron, I commissioned systems and I would have to generate a lot of documentation and paperwork. Is there anything in the tool to help me with that?
Sure. In the File menu, we have an export option that will take all of the data that the application currently knows about the endpoints and will export it to a CSV file so that it can be opened up later in Excel, and you have an archive of the site as it was when you left.
Okay, I'm really liking this. Where can I go get the tool?
It's available on our website, and it's also available in Master Installer.
All right, thank you, Chris. So we have briefly discussed the DM NVX tool. Stay tuned for more videos from CTI.